Hello, and welcome to the Holy Harlot podcast. This is the sanctuary for the untamed and the sacred. My name is MaryLisa, your guide into the realms of embodied pleasure, divine feminine power, and nervous system liberation. Here we merge mysticism and science. We awaken the ancient codes of powers that have always been yours. If you're ready to turn your body into a living portal, regulate your nervous system as an act of devotion, and step fully into your magnetic power, welcome in. Don't forget that these videos are brought to you ad-free. You can support me and my guest by liking and sharing as much as possible. Know that we greatly appreciate it. And if you're ready for your personal Holy Harlot awakening to shift you from stressed into sensual, you can find more information in the show notes. So this is Holy Harlot episode 20. I am sitting with one of my good friends. We don't live close to each other, but we have kept in such close contact because we've both worked on each other. I respect her work so much, and I'm really excited to have Jenn Rose. Jenn Rose is a certified astrologer who blends intuition with a psychological approach to help soul-led women and clarify and make intentional choices. She supports women navigating transitions in relationships, career, and identity, using their astrology chart as a grounded, practical roadmap for what's next. With a background in restorative yoga, Reiki, holistic nutrition, and quantum healing hypnosis, Jenn works with the whole person. She looks at lifestyle, beliefs, mindset, and nervous system healing, helping women understand when they're in alignment and when they're not, and how to move forward in a way that actually creates momentum. Her approach to astrology isn't about prediction, it's about self-trust, timing, and learning how to move through life in a way that feels authentic and sustainable. Welcome on, Jenn. So happy to have you.
Oh my goodness. The pleasure is all mine, MaryLisa. I also feel the same way about you. I'm so happy that our paths crossed and they just keep, you know, um, growing as we grow, which is so.
Yeah. And we put in the effort. Like we remain in contact. Like you're someone that I have never met in person, but I always think about in regards to my path, my spiritual path, my path as a woman. And I'm like, I just want to talk to Jenn right now. Thank God for WhatsApp.
I know, right? I feel really blessed in that sense because I feel very connected to people, whether they're here physically in the same place um, and just like soul connection, like we don't need to speak all the time, but when we do, it's like so rich. And so it's such a pleasure to be here in your space and to talk about this for the viewers that are listening.
Yeah, I reached out to Jenn and I was thinking, okay, we just entered into a Gregorian New Year, and we are coming up on the New Year in Chinese astrology as well. So this kind of January timeframe is perfect to talk to my trusted astrologer about what's in store, what themes we have going on, and how we can make kind of soul-led decisions. And so that is exactly why I'm so excited to talk to you today. So my first question for you is, just a reflection, I guess, first is 2025 was pretty intense and heavy. There was a lot of squeezing, a lot of shedding, year of the snake, a lot going on astrologically. I'm wondering if you can kind of talk to that, what you saw astrologically for 2025, and also what themes we're possibly leaving behind.
Absolutely. It's a great place to start. I feel collectively, energetically, and also just through clients, is that 2025 felt like it cracked us open emotionally. Like certain things came to an end or asked for some changes. 2025 is almost like the dress rehearsal for 2026.
Mm.
I almost feel like For some of us, it might have felt like things sped up, old cycles ended, as you would brilliantly said. We were in a year of 9, so that kind of came with the territory.
Mhm.
Um, and from an astrological perspective, we had 3 outer planets, um, which, by the way, outer just means something that we don't always feel day to day, but when they make a transition and they move into a different sign, that means they're moving into a different area of your life.
Mhm.
So just to kind of give you guys context to what that really means, um, Uranus was one of them, and it spends about 7 years activating one area of your life. And it represents sort of shaking things up, pushing growth, a little bit of spontaneity, maybe a plot twist. And so you can imagine 7 years in one area of your life. And in 2025, on July 7th, it entered a new area.
Mm.
So that take that with what you will, right? So that's sort of adding into the ending beginning. And then we had Neptune.
But where did Uranus move from and into on
Oh,
July
beautiful.
7th?
Yes. So it moved from Taurus. So Taurus is, the sign of the body. It's also the sign of stability, wanting security, wanting to be grounded. Uranus and Taurus isn't like its favorite place, right? Because it's almost like the antithesis of that. So, maybe there were themes that we were dealing with regards to security, worth, um, feeling grounded, all of that. And then having it move into Gemini
Okay.
on July 7th, um, we're dealing with more changes in our conversations, changes in our thoughts, changes in the way we process information, as we're already sort of seeing a lot more advancements, technology, the way we communicate. So if you felt a little bit of something kind of come through in that window of time, that was very deliberate.
Mm. Oh my
The
gosh,
next
that
one was
was
next.
such a
Oh,
hard time for me
oh, was
personally.
it?
Oh
Okay.
God.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good to reflect though.
Yes. So for me, it's interesting. I'm a Gemini sun. So, and at a 0 degree Gemini. So like at the
Ooh.
very beginning, so Uranus would have come right over my sun. And I felt like for me, like my skin was crawling. Like I was like, I need a change. I need a plot twist. Like I really um, felt that intrinsically. And so I actually did go on a plane trip with my dad sporadically.
Yeah.
He's also a Gemini, to San Diego, and felt very interesting because I met 3 people that had very Uranus energy on them as I was there. So it was like, and Uranus is kind of the planet of a maverick, right? Not a rule follower, someone who wants to break through. I like reference the movie Top Gun all the time because that movie is teaching you to trust your instincts and it's not teaching you to follow the rules. And Uranus has that flavor of energy about it.
I love
So
that.
anything that you're looking to, change or break through, Uranus can be very helpful in those moments. And I find it's not as, groundbreaking, pun intended, because sometimes Uranus can have earthquakes, especially in Taurus. Um,
Mm.
but if you're following and listening, it doesn't feel as disruptive when you're listening to kind of the whispers and the discomfort of like what needs to be shifted. I feel it can only be really disruptive when we're like, okay, we're not maybe leaning into it as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that you call it the Maverick. That is such a good analogy, and I'm never going to forget what Uranus is about now. For me, it moved into my 12th house, a whole sign, and so really shaking up my my neat little spiritual world. So very useful, very beneficial.
So interesting, MaryLisa, because it just left my 12th house to my first.
Mm,
I, yeah, so I definitely went through the awakening of all the subconscious things that needed to be cleared,
yeah.
right? with Taurus, I feel it had to do with money and things of that nature. And leaving the 12th house and entering the first, it was like, oh, that's also the house. Sometimes people go on retreats and need to travel. And so it just, yeah, it's just interesting how it always, whether we know it or not, astrology is happening. And so if you're
So true.
listening, look at July 7th, either through emails or photos, and
Mhm.
just kind of see what was coming up for you at that time, because the similar theme is going to come up again this following year. Of
Okay.
course, there'll be different things, but we got like a trailer in 2025. That's what I like to say, because all of these planets moved and then they went back. And now
Yeah,
this
we had a lot of retrogrades, didn't we?
Yes. So the ones I'm referencing is that they went, it's almost like when that happens, it's like, okay, here's a taste
Mm.
of this new journey for you, right? Of what you're going to be closing out that you've been working on for 7 years, like using Uranus as an example, and what you're going to be sort of leaning more into. Okay. And then when it goes back, it's like, okay, but we're really just making sure that we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's, right? We're really finishing up what we've been learning and integrating over the 7 year period. Because now that we're in 2026, when it moves back into the place it was, we're fully engaging with it now. Like we're fully moving forward. So I think in that sense, like retrogrades are great, because if we keep operating on autopilot, then we don't learn. And so having us like have that moment of like, oh God, okay, whatever it was for you, um, allows you to lean more into it. And like I always like when things come back around, because I'm like, oh, it's a second chance for me to do it differently. And that's what I feel retrogrades really help us with.
Yeah, I agree. I actually love retrogrades. If we really demystify them, for me, it's like an archetype. Like I always talk to my clients about, sounds like you're in a retrograde season. Like, do you want to continue the way things were going, or do you want the retrograde to shift you? And that's a really helpful kind of archetype
I
view on
love
it.
that. I
Yeah.
love it. So that's so great.
So what else was, so we had big shakeups for our Maverick moving into our Gemini, which is, if you know your rising sign, you can see exactly where that happened for you. I like to use time passages.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's one that you like to use.
Um, I Well, I use astro.com
Okay.
to I use like what I would use in a client session when I punch
Mhm.
in everyone's information. Um, I'm trying to think if I know Patterns is a good app for people that maybe aren't as astrologically savvy and aren't looking at their chart and having it, it kind of allows you to look at the cycles and it breaks it down. So that's something to maybe lean into. But if you are and you're interested, and you know your chart a little bit, then I would, yeah, I mean, definitely put in astrology.com and just sort of take a look.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and see what comes through for you. And then I would say Neptune was the next one. Um,
Mhm.
and that moves very slowly. And it was spending about 13 to 14 years um, in an area of your life. And what it likes to do is sort of dissolve old identities and reshaping your dreams and your ideals.
Dissolve in dreams. Okay.
Mhm.
Like that. And that was also Taurus Aries, right?
No, that's Neptune was actually in its home sign in Pisces.
Oh, Pisces Aries? Like, did
It went
it?
into Pisces Aries, yeah.
Okay, Pisces Aries.
Yeah. So the idea there is that when it's in Pisces, it's like we can be idealistic, a little bit, maybe getting a little bit lost in the dream. And again, this is something that's an outer planet, so we don't feel on a day to day, but when there are like transits happening that are talking to that part, things come together a little bit more cohesively. Um, and so having it shift into Aries, it could manifest in a couple different ways. It's sort of moving away from the space of like, let's meditate, dream, and sort of, go inwards and kind of gauge information that way, to let's actually take our dreams and move them forward by
Mm.
taking some sort of action.
Mm-hmm.
It can
Yeah.
also, perhaps, because Neptune can be a little bit foggy, maybe it can also, when it comes in Aries, it's like, who am I?
Mm.
You can be a little bit like, who am I?
Oof, that's a hard
Right?
one. Not comfortable.
Yeah.
And when
But
did that kind of transit shake start? Also in the summer?
yeah, I think that was in March 30th, I
Okay.
believe.
So kind of springtime.
I'm actually just gonna pull up my.
Yeah, because one of my favorite things is that I keep a journal, like almost a daily journal. And when I hear someone like you talk about dates, kind of like you said, go back through your pictures, go back through your emails. I like go back to my journal and I'm like, oh wow, that's why X, Y, and Z was happening. It really helps me create meaning out of what I was experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, to your point, that's a beautiful way to say it is that astrology really is just a pattern recognition
Hmm.
and helps you kind of identify that so that you can choose because our free will is such a big part of this. And our choices really define what we're doing and how it's coming to us. So it's brilliant. I love that you said that. Yeah. And just to verify, yes, it was March 30th.
Okay, okay. And so we had some big outer planets engage in sort of like you said, you called 2025 a dress rehearsal. And to some, that might sound scary. Like, okay, if I experienced such a shakeup, such a year nine, such a shedding for the year of the snake in 2025, is that just like going to be amplified in 2026? Or what does that dress rehearsal mean?
That's a great question. So what I'm sort of honing in on is more these moments of transition that are mirrored through these planetary shifts, not only in your life but different tones based on the signs. Um, and the reason this year was so big in that way is that we had three outer planets and so five planets really shift into a different area. But the difference is that that sort of happened, like you said, the nine to clear things out, and because we had the North Node, which represents our collective growth on theme, our journey, our 18-month journey that would have started in January 11th, 2025, in Pisces, which is about feeling and emotions. And the other opposition, the other side of us, what we were releasing and what we were reorientating was our routine, our health, our
Virgo?
wellness. So these two signs, even though they're different, the two common grounds about them is they're both quite intuitive and they're also quite in the realm of healing. So that's we're moving a lot from like a lot of water this year. This past year was a lot of water energy. We had
Mm.
Jupiter in Cancer, so we were healing our emotions with our families, not just in this lifetime, ancestors. Um, we were also healing our hearts. And having the North Node in Pisces often makes us feel, I can't speak for everyone, but for some of us, like, okay, I had this plan, but then it got rerouted to a different way. Pisces isn't linear. It's an energy of like having to kind of trust more. And there were some sobering moments in this conversation that would have shown up in our life in different ways. So we're moving from air and earth, which is how do you feel? Like, what's going on in your body? What's your health saying to you? Like Virgo communicates through intuition through our bodies, and Pisces communicates through like our feelings in terms of like our intuition. And so we're moving into fire and air. So that's where it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be more us turning into more action, more community, less like sitting and feeling and more like doing and contributing. So that's where it also will, we're going to get a taste of that. Our like new sort of walk together collectively around February 17th when we have what I call as an eclipse in Aquarius.
Oh, so the eclipses happen each year along the north and south node axis?
Yes,
Oh
but
my God.
they cross over sometimes before. So I'm trying to make this as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We always get a one eclipse before we actually shift into different ones.
Okay.
That's going to kind of get us a taste of what our next like focus is. So we're getting a taste, like what I like to call a whisper on
Mhm.
February 17th. Um, and so I would say it's almost like astrologically 2025 laid the groundwork.
Okay.
And yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's almost like it had to kind of scrub a lot, make sure our foundation was strong, and whatever wasn't strong in our foundation, it now is to prepare us for 2026.
Yeah, yeah. And like 2026 is more about like asking you to apply it, like apply what you've been learning and feeling. But it's going to feel differently because we're going to be less in the water and more in our how do we want to communicate and how do we want to take action?
Yeah,
Um,
fire
yeah,
horse.
yeah. And
Okay.
then obviously the Aquarius and Leo is going to be also in sync with that.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun. Okay. Okay, so it sounds like you said 2025 was cracking us open, testing our foundations, and year nine, and we're heading into year one. So once we tested our foundation, hopefully we get time to reflect and heal and understand and love on ourselves because 2026 is a year one. We get to build now on that
Yes,
foundation, take action.
yes, yes.
I like that.
Yeah. And some of the themes is like start before you feel completely ready
Ooh, okay.
because Saturn and Neptune are going to re-enter Aries in January and February, which brings that push to act on our intuition and build that structure as we go.
Okay.
Try new ways of communication and networking
Okay.
as Uranus will shift back into Gemini around April, asking us maybe for some, radical changes in how you spread information, how you think, how you communicate, and how you experiment with ideas. And then healing our relationship with stability.
Oof. Okay, that can go, for me, I'm like, that can go infinitely deep. So say more.
Okay, so with Chiron, which is what represents in astrology our wound,
Yeah.
and what is often on the other side of that is the self, is what I like to say. It's also what I find is like the healer within all of us too. So I like to play devil's advocate in that, where it is in your chart isn't just like where maybe you get triggered, but it's also where you have like healing abilities. So Chiron has been in Aries for some period of time, and that's been like we've been doing some healing on ourselves. This year it's moving into Taurus in June.
Okay. And it's been in retrograde for a while too, right?
Yeah,
Jeez Louise.
yeah. But in June it will have its first, you know, um, taste of it being in Taurus. So healing around self worth, our money, feeling safe in our body and our choices. Seems like that. But again, it's a longer one. It's just something to note in June because um, anytime a planet moves in for the first time, we feel it. We feel it. And So just maybe be mindful of your spending around that time, just just be mindful of like your body. Um, and maybe if you could practice more like some self-love in that time would probably be really helpful for you.
Mhm.
Um, and then the next theme I would say is, shifts from seeking recognition to meaningful contributions.
Ooh. Okay, so what part of us were we working through that was seeking recognition? Like where did we experience that astrologically? What was going on?
So this is more the new theme because this North Node is going to move into Aquarius, which is
Mm.
about the collective. It's about being an individual, showing up authentically, finding your group that you want to contribute to. Um, it like that Aquarius is also ruled by that maverick energy, right? So
Mhm.
it's the energy of like I've got a great idea, but it may be so hard, so ahead of its time that people are like, that's crazy. And then you go and do it. And all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, okay, now I can see it. So it has that futuristic energy to it, but it also has this ability to be amongst the people and be an individual in that sense. And the South Node, which is what we were releasing and what we're growing from, is in Leo. So that's where the recognition. So
Ah,
right? So for some people, this will come through different ways because Leos can be quite shy. So if you're somebody who has a fear of being seen and heard, this is where it's going to be like, hey, girl, this is what we're working on. But if you're somebody who seeks the spotlight or has a little bit more ego stuff that they want to work on, that's where it's going to be readjusted. And that could be very individual for
mm.
each person.
Yeah, I'm actually, it's kind of one of my favorite things to talk about with women is how much we have been conditioned to externalize our ability to get love, be recognized, and we have to kind of put it in back in our body. Like no one can give us something that we aren't willing to give to ourselves. So I love that we're going to go through that collectively this season.
Yeah, because guess what? The fire energy is our courage, it's our creativity, it's our momentum, it's our joy, and that's Leo energy. It's also all matters of the heart. So, beyond just self and self-expression and creation and joy, all of these themes are going to come up as well. And Aquarius is the head, like, the head, like cerebral. So we're going to be doing head and heart, head and
Oh,
heart. Air brings ideas, it brings communication, it brings experimentation, right? So
yeah,
it's very beautiful.
it's
Is
interesting.
things coming through for you as I say this?
Yeah, I'm thinking about this is something I don't talk a lot about because I am still in the process of this deep channeling, but I do get the sense that there is going to be like legitimate in your face alien contact in 2026, and then 2027 it will become very kind of normalized. So it's interesting that this season we're moving into the head, and how that could potentially be really difficult for people, or it can give you such a beautiful access point into things that we don't have a complete understanding of.
I love that you said that because Aquariuses are the sign that feel alienated. And they're the sign that's actually most connected to astrology, right?
Maybe that's why maybe that's why it's 2026 because they're
Yeah.
using our astrology codes.
Yes. And to validate that, they feel very like different. They're like, I feel like a different, I don't know where I fit in.
Yeah.
But it's it's also a permission slip that you're not supposed to fit in. You're supposed to be you, right?
Yeah.
To let that free flag fly. And Uranus, which is ruled by it, is the planet that's very connected to, alien
Amazing.
energy. Yeah, really cool stuff. So, I mean, not far. I just wanted to sort of add that take on it, what you were feeling into. So,
I mean, it's really amazing when I'm like, oh, MaryLisa, don't talk about this yet. Oh, MaryLisa, don't put that out there. And then you're like, oh, it makes sense this and that way. And I'm like, this is why we talk about things together.
Yeah, we're in this container together. So it's like what you're sensing into, I can, communicate in a different way. So I love that. So
Yeah.
just note that in July for everyone that's listening, around the 26th, that's when we're going to be starting that new 18-month journey of what we've been talking about, of that um, you know, shift from seeking recognition and meaningful contribution, that kind of energy, sense of self. So um, we'll get a taste on that on February 17th. And we'll really start to walk the walk around that time.
Mm, I love that. That's kind of right around the Chinese New Year when we finally enter into Fire Horse. And to have a whisper of the Aquarius North Node is like, are you fully ready to be yourself and take action in in honor of being different and therefore building a stronger community because you are in your truth, in your passion. So that's kind of cool that they line up this year.
This year is also different than the other 2 years. We started every year, well, the last 2 years at least, in retrograde. So this is the first year that we're not starting in that. And so I often, as an astrologer, will celebrate the astrological new year, which is in March, but do my intention by the winter solstice by December 21st.
Hmm.
But it was interesting because this year we had an opening, and I will put this on here for anybody who had things come through around the 6th to the 10th of this month. Was actually a really beautiful window of time to um, lean more into our goals and our long term, what we're thinking about in terms of this year, just because we're in Capricorn, season, and Venus, which is what we value, how we want to connect, how we want to make money, um, long term in the sign Capricorn, coming together with the sun, which illuminates anything it touches. And it also starts a new cycle. So, and then Mars joined the party, which is our actions. So, our actions and our values. And we're starting a 2 year new cycle from the 6th to the 10th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. On what we want to not just build overnight, but we want to, because Capricorns commit to, nourish, adjust, get rid of, really understand. So I advise people, and it's still applicable because we have the Capricorn new moon coming up this weekend,
Hmm.
um, to apply some of the things that you're taking a little bit, like taking a step towards what your goals are, which is not usual of um, this time period. Usually it's like, okay, wait till there's everyone has different markers, right? February 17th, the Chinese New Year, the astrological New Year, which is on March 21st, Aries season. But this actually had a beautiful opening. So I wanted to just share that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like any place you put your intention or your belief, whether it's the Gregorian New Year, the Chinese New Year, or the astrological New Year, like they all have a kind of sacred geometric openings. Like they're all purposeful. Like we can use any kind of access point to really jump into something that feels good. I was kind of reflecting on that time for me, and it's really interesting because I started writing all these courses and I felt so blocked. Like I was not excited. I was trying to write these courses based on advice from like a business coach, and it's like Spirit was like, stop, stop, you know? And, then the 111 portal came and absolutely rocked my socks off in a scary and beautiful way. And then this new kind of channeling session has shown me that I'm meant to shift even in a deeper and different direction. And I just think it's so interesting that my season, my six planets in Capricorn, my especially right now, are like we have to go, we have to be doing something, and sometimes the doing is receiving, is what I'm learning.
So beautiful. And I'm really happy you shared that because this is a beautiful remembrance that these transits are going to hit people differently. And by you sharing that, what's coming through is like, in order to start a new cycle, you have to be aware of old tendencies.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's also what came through for some people during that time, where it's like maybe your defaults or maybe something like
Mhm.
that. And you were like, okay, I can't do it. Like I've been doing it anymore. And that's actually the point of that integration of these energies that come together, our actions, our values, and our sense of self. But with you, MaryLisa, in the seventh house, and you have all these other, beautiful planets, which is what we call a stellium, which is a cluster of energy that's focused on in this lifetime coming together. It's almost as if it was activating everything in there
Mhm.
and activating within you, right? Like how you want to proceed in what's your new contract with yourself and the relationships that you want to cultivate in work sense, in a one-on-one sense. And anytime, by the way, a transit's happening in the sky, it will always ripple and like almost like a vibrato of your own personal Venus and your own personal Mars. So
Yeah.
it will always, any transit that's happening outside or in an area of life, it like directly comes into yours. So I can't recall where your Venus and Mars are, but that also was part of the story. And that's what I love about astrology. It helps you understand the story of everything that's coming through for you in your day to day.
Yeah. I feel like being born with this much Capricorn energy and having my south node in my first house and my north node in my seventh house, like I really am becoming a more evolved Capricorn where it's like it's not about my action anymore. It is, like you said, about my values and how I can more effectively become the sea goat, like not just the goat who's climbing mountains. So that's a beautiful reflection.
And I would love to just add that if anyone who's listening feels like they don't relate to their sun sign, something that I had to learn along the way is that we become that sign so we can grow into it. We're not just it.
Mm,
So we're learning about it as we're here.
yeah.
Um, Myself personally, I'm a Gemini, and I also have a cluster of Gemini energy
Mm,
on one side of my chart. And if you think about it at face value, something I would hear over and over again is that Geminis are great communicators. As a child, my childhood friends would say that's absolutely untrue. Um, right. But as I have evolved into this profession and into my own self and my embodiment and my knowledge, it just completely shifts. And I do feel very central part of what I and how I like to share. But of course, like that was the journey of
mhm.
being born as a Gemini, where it was like, oh, how do I digest the information I'm learning and say it in a way that's going to help the person, um, or even just how to express myself in a certain way outside of astrology. So it's just interesting because I still have two friends that are from my childhood, and it would be day and night for them
Mhm.
um, from like when we were kids. They're like, I have no idea what you're saying. I don't understand. And to now, it's like, oh, it like really resonates. So it's just interesting, something to food for thought for anyone out there that's like, I don't register with this or whatnot. But we're much more than our sun signs. But it's just an example of how we're not just supposed to be that. It's like we grow into it.
I totally agree. I think I've told a few friends just casually because I'm not an astrologer, but like I really identify with like the archetypes and like reading stories as whole signs because they it's almost like a blueprint. And I find that most people are uncomfortable if they're not accessing that planet in that house in that energy. It's almost like this is how you will feel comfortable. Like you may be acting like a Virgo Mars when your Mars is actually in, Cancer, and that is like how you'll actually feel the most comfortable is if you kind of do the research, look at your houses and signs, and be like, okay, so that's what spirit wanted me to kind of embody this life.
Yeah. And just like every energy that we experience, because we're here to feel the full spectrum
Mhm.
of emotions, is really important. Every planet has that too. So just note that, like, um, you know, if you read something that feels like, oh, your Mars is supposed to be this way, it's like, well, consider its tone because it can operate in alignment and out of alignment too, you
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
So it's just noticing that too. That's why when astrologers come on and they talk about transits, like it speaks to a certain collective and not everyone because it's generalized, but also they're talking about a certain way that it's going to like kind of could possibly manifest, right? And so
Hmm.
that collective is feeling that in their orbit. Others are feeling a different way. So just to your example, MaryLisa, I felt it was kind of split across when I said the 6th to the 10th. You were like, oh, I was really having to reorientate or stop and be like, I'm not going to do it this way. Like my guides were kind of like, right. So that was your moment of truth. So I
Hmm.
had some people be like, what a week. Like this was a challenging week for me. And other people were like, this was the best week ever.
Hmm.
So it's like, it's very, right? It varies and
It
it varies
does.
on where it is in your chart. It varies where you are in your life, and what's needing to be, I guess, reorientated.
Yeah, it's how we decide to make the meaning. And whatever colored glasses you're wearing, if you're wearing rose colored glasses and you hear that Mercury is retrograding in your first house, you're going to see, oh, I'm going to get an update in how I can communicate you more clearly. But if you're wearing, dark colored glasses and you get some sort of astrological bad news, you interpret that and embody that in such a different way. So it really is kind of up to us to make meaning with these contexts.
And that's like a big basis of what the year we're moving into. I think that that is a really great way that people could really marinate in that, right? Just being your own captain of your own ship. Like we're moving into that kind of self-trust and the lens at which you look at things, and I think, yeah, that's just a beautiful way to kind of solidify, I feel like, everything we're speaking about, all these different themes.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for you, kind of a specific one.
Sure.
When you think about like Holy Harlot, the themes of like deep power, joy, intuition, feminine energy, what would you tell listeners to pay extra attention to in their chart and how to like, interpret it or use it?
Oh, I love that. I love I love what you said about Holy Harlot because instantly what came through is they zoomed me into Jupiter in when it
Ooh,
moves into Leo.
okay.
Follow so the reason I think that came up is because even though we are going to be readjusting our creativity, our self-expression, which is what actually ultimately sets us free, right? Um, is it's going to encourage us to follow what lights us up, even if it feels impractical.
Oof. Say that again, Jen.
It's going to have you follow what lights you up, even if it's impractical.
Mm-hmm. Preach.
Jupiter in Leo is like a permission slip. It's like not to perform, not to prove, but to express joy without justification.
You're giving me gold right now. Okay, so when does that happen?
Right. So that happens in the summertime, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, June 29th.
June 29th. Yeah, it's been moving pretty slowly through Cancer for
Like
the
about a
last.
year, a little bit over a year. Yeah.
Okay.
So as you can see, like just to give that example, water, Cancer, North Node, Pisces, water, Earth,
Mm.
like all that, and that's all shifting. So um, the higher expression of what I would say is the example I'm giving, which is the like follow what lights you up. And if something feels creative and alive, it's not a distraction, it's a clue.
Okay, that's so right. That's like one of my favorite things to really hone back in on is every breadcrumb of joy is your higher self trying to get you to all the blessings you've asked for.
Absolutely.
Oh man. Okay. I love that. So Jupiter in Leo, your permission slip, it does not need to make sense. It just needs to feel radically good. I had such a interesting astrological season with Jupiter in Cancer because it for me, Cancer is my rising sign, but a lot of my Cancer is actually in the 12th house. And so Jupiter has been moving through my 12th house, and oh gosh, astrology all over was like, this will be the lucky time for Cancer. And what I really found was that I also heard that Jupiter is the guru, right? It loves to show up and inform and educate and dance. It's true expansion. It's not just like this kind of small, like things will be lucky and you'll make money. And it really danced all over my subconscious for big expansion. So I'm excited for it to kind of finish its last little leg in Cancer. I want it to enter my first house. And then Leo. Oh, I love Leo. But Jupiter, right? Is that husband? Is that what I've heard? Husband energy, daddy energy?
That's more Saturn. I say Jupiter. So I'm going to pause a beat. I'm going to give an archetype for Jupiter. And I just want to solidify and validate what you just said, which was so beautiful. And I need to make sure everyone hears that
Okay.
because Jupiter gets the rep and you'll hear it through astrologers or through certain written. It's abundance, it's good luck, it's good fortune to some extent. And I feel it, I love that you said that because I do feel as an astrologer, it is my duty to explain that it is something that expands anything it touches.
Hmm.
So if you think about abundance, too much of anything isn't a good thing.
Mhm.
And it's also responsible for being a teacher, start like wanting to learn, wanting to travel, wanting to understand. So with growth comes growing pains. So that is definitely a big part of Jupiter, not just that other part. And the archetype I actually like to give it is Santa Claus.
Hmm.
The reason that would be is that, you know, if you were to talk to Jupiter and Jupiter's like, listen, I got this really great plan. I'm going to deliver presents to all the kids in one night, okay? And you're like, that's a really wonderful, thoughtful idea and very optimistic, but like you might overdo it, right? So like that's the way I like to sort of affiliate Jupiter with. If it's like Santa Claus, sometimes it can be that optimistic prime energy. And often actually I will say sometimes when there are like when people get sick or there's like the pandemic, Jupiter can be responsible because it's like spreading things. It likes to spread things. It likes to do that kind of energy. Um,
Oh, that's interesting.
right. And it's also, you would think with Pluto, which is the planet that like destroys to rebuild, when you look at charts when people are passed away, it's not, you never really see Pluto. It's usually Jupiter because it's kind of that energy of expansion, right? Beyond like it's
Oh,
just like growth and
yeah.
energy. So yeah, so be
Okay.
mindful is what I would say in terms of not taking on too much at once, but allowing yourself to ground into what you want to express and let what lights you up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such an abundant teacher, but you have to be willing to pay attention and learn. And I think, like you said, it really expanded my subconscious, and I had to do a lot of clearing. There was a lot of gaslighting going on in my life, and it taught me a lot, moving through my 12th house. So
Can I ask you
definitely
where your personal Jupiter is?
my, so Jupiter is in my first house, Leo.
Okay, so you're going to have a Jupiter return.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And my Leo is our Scorpio. You have a Scorpio fifth house or no? Yeah, so I have Scorpio fifth house, so they'll be kind of playing together. My creativity, dating, and sense of self.
Hmm. Love.
Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so I just kind of want to know, I want to play in the shadow a little bit. What's your hot take for astrology right now?
Shadow, like in terms of just like what would be, like, I would say notice what you've been waiting, like notice where you've been waiting.
Ooh,
And that,
okay.
because that's where 2026 will challenge you.
Oh,
Sorry, that just came through.
yeah, I'm here for it. Okay, so notice where you've been waiting. Like if you've been waiting for health, or you've been waiting for a new job, or you've been waiting for permission, like that kind of notice.
Yes, notice where, yeah, where in your life you've been waiting for something, because that's where 2026 will challenge you.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's exactly what I meant by a hot take. Like,
Because action becomes the form of intuition in 2026. So action becomes the form of what you're intuitively like, whatever you guys are listening to, and you're like, what have I been waiting for, and something comes through right now. That whatever action you take on that will become the form in 2026. You're learning what's true by doing, not by overthinking.
give me like 3 seconds to really ground that in because my clients know anytime like my eyes water, I'm like, I just got hit by a truth bomb. Okay, action becomes intuition. You know what
Form, yeah,
become.
conform. Like become like, you know what I mean? Like something formulates when you actually
Yes.
take action on it. Yes.
It's so interesting because I've been channeling a similar message for a few of the people that I'm working with right now. And it's not a channel message for everyone, but maybe it will be in 2026. Whereas like when you decide something is true, that's when it becomes true. So you're kind of circling this drain with me here of like your action forms that kind of intuitive nudge, that leading.
Yep. If something is pulling you, that is the information. And so it's like the idea of what I said before is just like the idea is like notice what you've been waiting on, because that's going to challenge you, which is what we said earlier. So you have to take that action um on the information. I
Okay.
shouldn't say you have to, because you have free will. And I never like to sort of there's no permanency. We have free will in our choices.
Yeah.
But I would encourage. Thank you for that correction.
Okay. And what would you tell the woman watching who wants to hack their chart for a miracle? Like, what should they look at?
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Community matters more than approval. So to hack your chart would be to look at where the North Node in Aquarius, so where Aquarius is in your chart, because 2026 will reward us when we stop shrinking to fit in and start showing up as ourselves in the right rooms. So asking yourself, where do I feel like I belong without performing? Who actually sees me when I'm honest? Because your growth, your hack, if you will come from connection.
Okay. Okay. And I'm going to be really selfish right now and be like, Jen, my Aquarius is my eighth house. And all I think about there is like death, shared resources, and the mystical.
Mm-hmm. You named it, sister. So leaning into that will be looking at ways in which you probably can connect with people to gain um, more resources, not just for yourself, but for others as well. I sort of sense into like,
Like this
collaboration,
podcast.
like this podcast, like collaborations, ways that can reach more people. Um, as like, yeah, like a shared resource that can also build more of a wealth, I think, for you in some way. But it has to come from, yeah, collaboration, people, and communicating and sharing in that sense. And also things that, as you were saying, like are taboo that aren't necessarily mainstream.
Like
That could
channeling aliens.
turn a few heads. Yeah.
Jen got on here a little bit earlier with me, and I just kind of unloaded about the chaotic channels that I've been having. So thanks, Jen.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Um, okay, so I actually love that because, my heavy Capricorn placements is like, don't do something if it doesn't produce. And when I was really trying to understand whether or not I wanted to keep the podcast, my higher self was like, do you enjoy it? And I was like, I fucking do. I love talking to people. I love talking. And I had never really been someone who like reached out and like I think that spirit and my chart is really encouraging me. I felt the motivation, Jen, to like get people. I'm like, I want to talk to her. I want to talk to her. I want to talk to her. And so that's really interesting about stop shrinking and stop chasing approval.
Mhm.
So I'm so excited to be interviewing more of the women I absolutely love, just for the sake of us both enjoying it.
And I love the way that they reframed it for you, because to do something because you enjoy it is actually another, like it's a theme as well. Like
Yeah.
asking yourself that, right? That is Leo in true and true. Production is sometimes why we do things, but it's more like, what do we want to create? What do we want to say? And how do we want to go about doing it? And does it come from our hearts? And so I love that you enjoy this because I enjoy doing it too. So here we
Mhm.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have a podcast too, right?
I do. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
can you just tell us what it's called?
Yeah, it's called The Inner Forecast, and it's again, I also sit with a different practitioner every month, and we talk about the season that we're in, with also sharing their expertise and their magic. MaryLisa's been on my podcast as well. We talked about Virgo season, and we talked about ways in which you can connect with the body.
Yeah.
And she does biotuning, as you guys probably know, listening. So yeah, each practitioner's is catered to the season, and we talk about the astrology to help you guys take something that feels really far-fetched and bring it down into earth, and how you can actually take steps that feel tangible for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved being on your podcast, and I love the idea of like we did talk about like some specific logistics, but from my experience, the episode we did together will always be relevant because we talked about archetypes and themes of Virgo and the body. And so it just feels very pertinent as always.
Well, as we sit here together, and I'm sure there are things that I say that, oh, hello,
Alien.
that may land. I won't forget from that episode, you mentioned the difference between your intuition and instinct. And I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know if you do, what's that type called where you're either like a projector or a generator? Human design. So, my authority, right, whatever that means, is spoken out loud. So sometimes I'll hear myself saying things and I'm like, damn, that was smart. And yes, I believe it. So having conversations with women who are intelligent, embodied, like stars in their own realm, like we really have some great conversations.
It's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Please, that's my favorite thing, to have these conversations with amazing women. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have one last question for you. Um, can you tell us about your inner holy harlot?
Hmm. I mean, you defined it a little bit earlier in terms of it being our joy. Do you want to give a little expand on that for me so I can really?
Yes. So, your divine feminine energies within your body, intuition, pleasure, joy, chaos, oracular nature. 。
Mm. 。 Oh, wow. Okay. There are a couple things coming through. I'm just like, it's interesting. They're kind of drawing me to a practice rather than an actual thing within. So interesting. Recently, I've been drawn to sing in like a drop-in choir with a bunch of strangers, and I'm not a singer by all stretch of the imagination, but there's something about coming in and harmonizing with a group of people all singing the same thing. It's like I read that when you're in the movie theater, our heartbeats end up coming like going to the same rhythm, and it feels the same with our vocals
Mm.
and using our voice in a different way and stretching that muscle. Like I was like, wow, my throat chakra was really like tired, but also like opened, and it was just like this heart opening, voice opening, and didn't know anyone in the room, and it was just like magnifying, and I was singing one song, and I was like, that really feels also like a similar image that I've been getting about this year to come. It's like this collective song, in terms of us being part of our own choirs, using our own voices and trying to be an individual amongst the people. And so it was like that moment in time was like, yeah, I'm gonna be back.
Yeah.
That felt very like all encompassed all the different things and interesting when I was driving. I was like, do I really want to be doing this right now? I'm not sure. And then you go and I was like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing. I really, the way I'm seeing it and interpreting kind of that story that you shared is like the divine feminine within us knows the power in connection, knows the power of vibration, of community, of being seen, of being heard. And we have to crack away a lot of these internal and external conditions that want us to be scared, small, or like that's too much expression, Jen, or don't be that much, MaryLisa. And the fact that you got this kind of beautiful opening through that, I mean, it is courageous. We get to our mid 30s and we're like, I'm doing this thing, and that's it. But when you do something new, like you really are expanding not only your energy, but your brain chemistry, your abilities. So, hell yeah, sister.
Hell yeah. And to your point, the vibration, you have to go from the stomach, you have to get lower. Like you're really like, in tuning that energy through you, that frequency,
Mhm.
uh, and having to listen and respond. And I'm somebody who loves to at least do one thing a month that takes me outside my comfort zone, that puts me in an environment I'm not usually in, and meet different people and see
Yeah.
what happens.
Mhm.
So that was just my one, and I was like, oh, I'll be back.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that as a practice. One new thing a month. It's like achievable, attainable, and stretching.
Yes, yes, yes. That's vulnerable too, right? It's vulnerable to sing out loud. Um, I went to a drop-in improv class once as well, and you have to really be active listening and respond. And I laugh because I feel like I channeled Jimmy Fallon, where I was like, "Oh, I'm in the skit. I can't laugh about it," Like
Yeah.
I'm actually enjoying it. Um, and it is vulnerable because you're like on the spot, but you get out of your head and you get in the moment and you learn how to play again.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
yeah,
You're kind of my hero right now, hearing about all your drop-in classes. I love it.
it just keeps me feeling alive. And I guess my philosophy is always when I meet somebody, why are we in alignment in this moment? What can I learn from them?
Wow. No, you're definitely my hero now. For those of you that really want to work with Jen and explore how she can help you understand your themes, your archetypes, how to best, access your gifts and your energies. That was my question for her when I first started working with her. I was like, what are my gifts? What should I do? I will leave her information below in the show notes. She's an absolute gem. And thank you so much for hopping on and just being your full self and giving us your tools and your education here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was an absolute pleasure. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay, until next time, thanks everyone for being a part of this. And don't forget to support this, send this to your friends, really spread the good word. I know that sounds biblical, but that's how it feels. So thanks everyone.